you're not going to remember those things. So writing them down as they happen is absolutely a really great suggestion.
Yeah. And so one of the things I do is I keep a kudos folder in my inbox where I track like compliments and I track some of my accomplishments
Mhm.
throughout. But I'm wondering if there's any other daily habits that you encourage people to keep as part of that mindset of tracking accomplishments.
Yeah, I think it's just like really making sure you do track it. I find a lot of people will come to me and they'll be like, "Oh, that job was 5 years ago. I don't have access to that information anymore." Like even like budget numbers, I couldn't tell you what the budget numbers are because I don't have access to that information and I can't remember. So like what you're saying, keeping a kudos file on your position is something people don't do. So like I think that everyone should be doing that because then when you look back like 10 years from now and you're like, what did I do at that role 10 years ago? You're not going to remember. You're not going to be like, oh yeah, I know exactly like all the 10 things that I did, like all the numbers and everything, percentages of how I increased efficiencies. Like you're not going to remember those things. So writing them down as they happen is absolutely a really great suggestion.
Yeah. Thanks. I guess I'll say that a lot of this has been generally pretty affirming, but I guess I might not be the typical person that you comes to you. But actually, no, actually, you
Hmm.
probably get people that also are very career focused and career driven and organizational and intentional about this stuff. But it has been somewhat affirming to hear that, hey, some of these things are things that I'm doing, and I guess I'm doing some things
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's that's really cool. So how does you said that it's kind of daily whenever you're tracking your accomplishments, but I assume that evaluating your personal brand is also kind of a habit as well. So what kind of I know that part of that is people come to you and they talk to you about their personal brand,
Hmm.
but I know that it's also you probably give out a lot of homework as well. So how do people go about doing that self-reflection and making sure that their personal brand reflects what they want?
Hmm. I think like the main time that people need to really reevaluate their personal brand is if they're going for, a new position, if they're transitioning their career, they're looking to go for a promotion, or they're looking to like upscale their career. But I mean, the biggest thing, like we were talking about, is keeping that kudos file for sure. That'll be like a huge part of making sure your personal brand stays accurate. But really, I mean, the people that I work with are usually in some form of a transition when they're looking to change their personal brand. And so we're going through, a lot of data that maybe they haven't looked at in a few years or they haven't looked at in maybe 20 years. So that's usually like what I'm kind of helping them with. So I really help people more define their personal brands typically, in the process, because a lot of people when they come to me just haven't even really maybe applied for jobs in a long time or something like that. So
Yeah, and I feel like that's a very daunting process. So it makes sense that somebody would be, I mean, I would be overwhelmed by that, especially if I didn't already have something cooking. So it makes sense where
mhm.
somebody like you would really be valuable.
Thank
So
you so much for watching this segment of the Engineering Success Podcast. If you liked it, make sure to check out the other videos down below that are recommended to you. And if you really like the podcast, make sure to subscribe right down there in the middle. Really appreciate it. It's free to you and helps us a lot out. And last but not least, the best way to help the show grow is to comment down below. So leave your comment if you have any thoughts about this segment. Thanks.
I ain't chasing payments, still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.